Good evening, everyone. We will call the May 7, 2012 City Council meeting to order. First order of business is the roll call. Charlene.
Nordstrom. Mason. Doyle. Sasso. Davis. Peterson. Roberts. Brown. Wright. Lorente. We have quorum.
Now we'll have our invocation from Roy Roberts from Rapid City Christian High School.
Father God, we just want to come before you tonight. I lift up these men and women to you, Father, as you lead them, Father, in this meeting tonight. And Father, I pray that you would just give them your guidance and your wisdom and your insight. And Father, I pray that whatever happens here tonight would bring honor and glory to you, and that, Lord God, that you will guide them in the decision-making that they need to make, Father, tonight. And Father, we praise you and thank you that we can honor you tonight. Father, we love you in your wonderful and precious name, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Roy. The next order of business is to adopt the agenda. And if you have any additions to the agenda, please hit your lights. We do have a couple of items to add. One is there will be an executive session tonight. Joel, the purpose?
The purpose is to consult with legal counsel regarding proposed or pending litigation pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2 subsection 3.
Okay. We will also have, under awards and recognition, we have the Citizen of the Month, and right after that we'll have a motorcycle awareness proclamation. So that will be item 1A, and then we will also have a employee recognition for Gene Nicholson, and that will be after the Light the Night presentation. Is there any additional items to add to the agenda? Oh, we do. Yes, thank you. We do have an item 71A, and we'll go to Charlene if you could present that item.
We need to add the second reading of ordinance to allow modular homes, ordinance number 5817, to be continued. Second reading was continued by Legal and Finance to their May 16th. We need to continue to May 21st.
Okay, so that is item 71A under continued consent. And that's regarding ordinance 5817, modular homes in manufactured home parks. Any additional items?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Davis and a second by Peterson to adopt with the changes noted. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And if Jack Noggle and the Ward 3 Alderman could please join me down front. The May 2012 Citizen of the Month is an individual whose second career has been public service to our community. We are pleased to present this award to Jack Noggle. Jack is a resident of Ward 3 and was nominated by Councilman Dave Davis and Jerry Wright. He's been married to his wife Sharon since 1957. They have 3 children, 8 grandchildren, and 9 great-grandchildren. Jack retired from Black Hills Power in 1999 after 44 years of service. He was a motorcycle safety instructor for 18 years, and he has trained over 2,000 riders in basic and advanced motorcycle riding and safety skills, including many members of the Rapid City Police Department. The sport of motorcycling is safer in the Black Hills due to Jack's efforts. He has attempted to better our community by his volunteer services. He is a shrine driver and a driver instructor. He has made nearly 100 round trips to Shriners Children's Hospital. By embarking on the 3-day, 1,300-mile trip to the hospital, Jack provides transportation for children in need of medical care at no charge to their families. He has also volunteered his time at the Shrine Circus since the 1980s. Are you one of the clowns?
No.
No? Okay. Jack's commitment to help others shows true compassion and dedication for the Rapid City community. Thank you, Jack, for your dedication to the city. And now Jerry Wright will read the proclamation.
Thank you, sir. Executive proclamation in the office of the mayor. Whereas the city of Rapid City has established the Citizen of the Month award to an individual whose second career has been public service to the community, and whereas the May Citizen of the Month is awarded to Jack Noggle, a resident of Ward 3 in Rapid City, and whereas Jack has volunteered his time and services to the Naja Shrine Organization and Sports Show Organization, and whereas Jack's commitment to help others shows true compassion and dedication for the Rapid City community. Now, therefore, we, Alderman Dave Davis, Alderman Jerry Wright of Rapid City, South Dakota, on behalf of Sam Quaker, Mayor of Rapid City, do hereby proclaim Jack Noggle as a May 2012 Citizen of the Month recipient in recognition of his innovation and leadership and the many contributions he has made to our community under our signatures. Congratulations.
Jack, there's a lot of your friends out here tonight, but I've got to say a couple of words that not only have I been through courses with you, I try to take the experienced rider course every 4 to 5 years just to unlearn bad habits, which I have to admit you've found many in me over the years. But I really knew not only that when we had the motor patrol that you had trained a lot of the cops here in town, I knew that you were an expert instructor. The night that I dropped my wife, my son, and my daughter all off in your class at the same time. It was all done that night. I knew that you could handle anything from that point on. Jack, thank you very much on behalf of the Davis family and the city of Rapid City. Mr. Mayor?
Well, we in the motorcycle safety class, and I see 1 or 2 others out here that probably deserve it more than I, that have been at it a lot longer than I have and trained a lot more people, but we all enjoy it or we wouldn't be doing it. And we hope that what we teach people sticks with them and they come back and take it again, like Dave has. So keep the rubber side down and enjoy riding. So keep it up.
And our city council president, Dave Davis, who's a motorcycle enthusiast. I love motorcycles too, but I don't drive because my balance isn't very good and I would be dead in a block. But Dave is a motorcycle enthusiast, and he has worked with our office to come up with a proclamation for motorcycle awareness. And I'd like to turn the microphone over to Dave at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. As we all know, May is Motorcycle Awareness Month on a national basis. And the executive proclamation reads as such. Whereas the motorcycle has been an important part of recreation, transportation, and tourism in Rapid City and western South Dakota, and whereas the motorcycle has contributed to the governmental activities nationally as well as locally, both in wartime and peacetime, and whereas the motorcycle ownership has reached over 5 million in the United States today, and with 11,215 registered in just Pennington County, and whereas a matter of safety, it is a necessity to develop skills and awareness of proper habits to handle these vehicles on our highways. And whereas it is important to the citizens of Rapid City be aware of motorcycles on the highways and recognize the importance of sharing the roadway. And whereas the motorists should have a special awareness of the vulnerability of motorcyclists. And whereas the education and safe riding habits are worthy of special recognition, and Rapid City is located in one of 4 safest states for riding motorcycles in the United States. And whereas the month of May begins an annual renewal of motorcycle enthusiasm, now therefore, I, Dave Davis, City Council President, on behalf of Sam Koiker, Mayor of Rapid City, South Dakota, do hereby proclaim May 2012 as Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month in Rapid City, dated this 7th day of May, 2012. Signed, Sam Koiker, Dave Davis. Please stand up, everybody. It's for you. Great part of that, Jack.
Thank you.
Terry Waltersdorf could join me down front for the Safe Drinking Water Proclamation. Before I present the proclamation, which is regarding the importance of water as our most valuable natural resource, I wanted to mention something, a question that I was asked recently, and I think the information might be interesting to all of you. I had someone ask me how much population our current water infrastructure would support. Right now, our current infrastructure for water is supporting approximately 73,000 users, and the current piping and infrastructure that we have in place would actually support approximately 87,000 users, and the water rights that we currently have in place are far more than that. So assuming that we had all the infrastructure that we needed, we could support at least 150,000 people. So we have a lot of good planning that's been done in the community already, and more planning continues to be done regarding water rights and our precious resource of water. So with that being said, I will now read this proclamation. Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas only tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and water and quality of life we enjoy, and whereas any measure of a successful society is in some way related to access to safe water, and whereas we're all stewards of the infrastructure upon which future generations depend, and whereas each citizen of our community is called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, to practice water conservation, and to get involved in local water issues. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Sam Koiker, Mayor of Rapid City, do hereby proclaim May 6 through 12, 2012 as Drinking Water Week. I need some water. Anyway, I'll now turn the microphone over to Terry.
Thank you, Mayor. We take a lot of pride, the Water Division of the Public Works Department, in providing this essential part of your life to the citizens of Rapid City. And we would like to remind the council and invite the public that on Wednesday from 8 to 4 out at the Mountain View Treatment Plant, we're going to be having an open house. And we will be giving tours of the current construction project at the Jackson Springs Water Treatment Plant. So we certainly would love to see you out there.
Thank you, Terry. And now if Jody Anderson from the Rush Foundation, and John Brewer could come up, please. And also Charity Doyle and Ryan Phillips. Is Officer Phillips here?
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the Light the Night Community Fundraising Committee, we are pleased to have participated in this public-private project to add solar lighting to the Leonard Swanson bike path here in Rapid City between 5th Street and Roosevelt Park. The project will make the path more accessible for the public that uses the path for exercise and recreation. It'll make the path safer for users and enable longer hours of use year-round. The lights will make the path safer for families that live in adjacent neighborhoods. It will connect the Civic Center, parking, skateboard park, Journey Museum, and downtown in a safer and more convenient way. I want to thank Officer Ryan Phillips for bringing this project forward. Ryan was part of the original planning of this. It was earlier proposed in a 2012 round, and we're able to take this piece of it, add it to the Leonard Swanson Trail, and successful with this fundraising campaign. The brave men and women that make up the street crimes unit of this city that patrol that path will have enhanced safety. Their patrols will see a reduction in calls for service, which are too many over the past several years. And finally, thanks to Alderwoman Charity Doyle and Mayor Quaker for encouraging the city's prioritizing of this project and promoting its progress as we brought it back to life, and thank you all for that. And I'd like to introduce Jody Anderson of the Rush Foundation.
The Rush Foundation is very proud to be a major contributor to the Light the Night project. We contributed a $40,000 grant that encouraged the Rapid City community to also contribute to the project. The Rush Foundation looks for projects that benefit the entire Rapid City community and help to majorly impact the quality of life for everyone. So this was a great project for us, and we are very happy with all the support we got from the community. The Light the Night Project Committee, John Brewer, Ken Kirkaby, and Don Claymore, raised $71,143 for the project, which I am pleased to present to the city tonight.
Wow. I need water. Wow. That's great. Well, we want to thank all of you for your leadership. We want to thank you, Charity, and especially Officer Ryan for your leadership on this tremendous project. Ryan, would you be willing to update us on the schedule? Do you happen to have? Sorry to catch you off guard here. But
that's okay. As of right now, the bid will be awarded tonight later on in the council meeting for equipment for this, for our solar lights. After that's done, we'll wait for the equipment to come in, and then this summer they'll be installed on the bike path with the help of Black Hills Power and other community leaders.
Thank you very much. Do you know?
Council accepts the bid tonight.
Stay tuned. We're not sure of the date, but it's coming soon. Thank you very much. If we could have a picture. Gene Nicholson. Gene, we want to take a moment to thank you for your 20 years of dedicated service to the city of Rapid City. We appreciate your service, and I'd like to give Brett an opportunity to tell us more.
Well, Jeannie has been with us for 20 years, and during that span, she's been to a lot of different departments in the city. She started her career in 1992 with the police department in traffic. Wasn't long from there. She moved to what was then the county and the city planning office here in Rapid City. And from there, 1999, she went to the Civic Center and worked for them. And actually, to this day, you still work part-time doing ticketing for the Civic Center. Fortunately, in 2003, she moved back to what was then the Growth Management Department, which is now our department, Community Planning, and has been working with us ever since. Was promoted to Administrative Assistant in 2010, and I've had the privilege of working with Jeannie for 11 months now, and I can tell that she has the respect, deep respect of all her co-workers. More importantly, she's integral to what I do at the department, which is in the budget preparation and also keeping the books in line. More important that she keeps me in order. If I start wandering off in the weeds, I know I can always go to Jeannie and she'll pull me back. So I appreciate it, and I'm very honored to be here on behalf of the department to recognize your 20 years of service. Thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you.
Right.
Oh, we got to slide down.
Did you want to say anything?
Well done. Well, thank you. None of my employees ever want to come to the council meeting.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session for the reasons previously stated. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
don't think so.
We have a motion by Davis and a second by Doyle to come out of executive session. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Joel.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I would ask for authorization to file a counterclaim against Highmark in the suit Highmark versus Rapid City, and to file a third-party complaint against Northwest Pipe.
We have a motion by Peterson and a second by Mason. And for the record, this is not Highmark Federal Credit Union. It is Highmark Construction.
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Joel.
Second motion I would ask for is motion authorizing our office to file declaratory judgment action in the White Cemetery matter.
We have a motion by Peterson and a second by Brown. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now is the time for general public comment, a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I do not have, looks like I do not have any general speaker request forms, so we'll move. Oh, there is one. We do have a general public comment item, and we'll go to Karen Haran. Karen?
Mayor and council members and Chief Allender. Between April 7th and April 29th, 2012, a 3-week period, there was an average of 37 alcohol intoxication arrests, 20 DUIs, 12 hit and runs, numerous fights, thefts, etc. Also during this time, the Rapid City Journal wrote their opinion on open alcohol consumption proposed for downtown and summer nights. And I quote, "Summer nights was a start to encourage families to attend the downtown festival." And then finished their opinion with, I quote, "Parents who are concerned about their children being present where beer is consumed don't need to bring them down there to summer nights." Very contradictory statement. As it is now, the children's area will be between 2 open beer drinking areas. Everyone keeps saying they are confident that all will be taken care and no one is really afraid or concerned about open street drinking. White picket fences do not stop beer from being passed over to someone underage, especially adjacent to Art Alley. People do not stop drinking at 10 o'clock. When the festival ends, a lot of people will continue to drink, and they all have to get in their cars and drive home. They just finished doing a mock accident caused by driving intoxicated, directed at the youth of our community. Yet we feel it necessary to show our youth in order to have fun. There has to be beer available, openly on the streets downtown. I also checked with the city parks, and they confirmed that no alcohol drinking is permitted in any city park. In conclusion, let me remind you our loss of officers and the young man who killed them and all of the domestic violence, etc., all caused by alcohol, probably started at a young age. We have an alcohol problem in our town. Let's not contribute to it. I'm not a teetotaler. I enjoy a glass of wine with dinner. I am against open drinking. There are restaurants, there are bars. Find the revenue somewhere else. Don't be responsible for something bad happening. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
We'll now move on to the non-public hearing items, items 4 through 71 for public comment. Can we have a motion to open public comment on 4 through 71? Motion by Brown, second by Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We'll first go to item number 36. Suzanne Martley will speak on item 36 regarding the Memorial Park Promenade. Suzanne?
Thank you. My name is Suzanne Martley. I'm speaking on behalf of Friends of Rapid City Parks. Friends was founded in 2005 to advocate for our parks. We have more than 100 members and have mobilized up to 300 supporters on issues, specific issues affecting the parks. Tonight, we would like to speak in support of the proposal by Destination Rapid City to create the Memorial Park Promenade. This is a creative and generous idea, the most recent of many aimed at connecting the heart of our park system with the heart of downtown. We applaud Destination Rapid City for their initiative and wish them every success in this appropriate addition to Memorial Park. We do, however, want to ask the Council and other supporters of the proposal to recognize that this is a step on the path. This is not mission accomplished. The major obstacle keeping downtown strollers from walking to the Civic Center and Civic Center visitors from meandering downtown after an event is not Memorial Park, it's not a winding path, it's Omaha Street. Just 4 years ago, Destination Rapid City, with support from Friends and many others, proposed a pedestrian bridge over Omaha to facilitate walkers and bicyclers in crossing. The state DOT didn't agree at the time, and the proposal was put on hold. At the time, the Rapid City Journal editorial board opined that, quote, regardless, the city and community discussion should move forward. Most recently, Friends heard from an international parks expert that walkers and riders don't use elevated crossings, but they do use underpasses, which, alas, are expensive. A year ago, experts who developed a master plan for pedestrian and bicycle paths in Rapid City heard repeatedly that Omaha Street is an obstacle. It is difficult to cross. Those consultants made several recommendations. They are in the master plan. Some of those have been implemented, some have not. What we'd like to urge all of us to think about is that Destination Rapid City and the city, if you approve of their proposal, use this as an opportunity to evaluate some of these other options. Let's get a baseline. Let's find out how many people are crossing Omaha Street now, what the bicycle traffic is, how it works, what locations work, and then evaluate again after the promenade is done. And let's keep this conversation going about how to get from the Civic Center to downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll go to Dan Sefner, also on item 36. Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. Dan Sefner, President of Destination Rapid City. I, too, just want to encourage moving forward with the Memorial Park Promenade. We're very much aware of the Omaha Street crossing. We're working closely with DOT to try to get a quick fix for right now to keep things moving forward. We have a meeting with them again late next week. Things are looking very good and very positive. We do know that is a barrier. We do know for right now, if we can accomplish it in a little softer manner right up front, we can maybe move things forward at a quicker pace. And with the promenade, as I was stating to a gentleman earlier today, you see the promenade, you see more people using it. Pretty soon you got a little more DOT involvement and a little more DOT connection. I don't know, Mayor, if at this time, if you want us to do a presentation on the promenade or what you would require.
I would say go ahead.
With me here is Mark Jobman from Wisson Associates. Destination Rapid City has contracted with Wisson Associates to partner and do the architectural landscaping of the Memorial Park Promenade, and we will be available, of course, for any questions. I do want to make a few statements as we get towards the end of this, talking about capital, building, improvement, and maintenance. Thank you.
I'll just say, once again, Mark Jobman, Senior Landscape Architect for Wiss Associates here in Rapid City. We have been working with Destination Rapid City for the last several months to develop this great project for Rapid City. The Memorial Park Promenade came into play when looking at Rapid City as a whole and looking at the pedestrian and bike circulation patterns throughout Rapid City. focusing down into the goal of the promenade is looking more at the city center, the orange line, the orange box that we see here on the aerial map ahead of us. The goal, as we know, is not a final solution for Rapid City, but it's a stepping stone and better interconnectivity for pedestrians and bike traffic throughout Rapid City. This Phase 1 project would obviously connect the downtown core that would be located south of Omaha Street to the development of the park, the Civic Center, the Journey Museum, and what we see north of Omaha Street within the city center area on the orange ground here. Other connectivity points within this, within the vicinity of this project, obviously we always want to consider the university, South Dakota School of Mines, as their future development and moving potentially further west. We also want to take into consideration the connection to the Journey Museum, very important establishment for Rapid City, and making sure that we increase the pedestrian traffic over to that establishment and that location as well. The Dahl Art Museum, the Skyline Wilderness, and then obviously Founders Park, all very important key attributes to the community as a whole. This main project, as we looked at it and providing a goal, obviously we have a tremendous amount of synergy in downtown Rapid City right now around a lot of the different features, the presidential sculptures, Main Street Square, and then looking at what we have north of Omaha Street and how we can make that stronger pedestrian connection for everybody, basically from south to north, north to south, bringing them back and forth. So a concept was developed through a committee here. We looked at, obviously, on the right-hand side of your screen here, Omaha Street, the Civic Center on the left-hand side of the screen, really increasing the pedestrian safety aspect of crossing Omaha Street. Currently, today, you have one crossing that would be located on the west side of 6th Street. You cross to a center median, and then you cross again over into Memorial Park. We would be looking at adding an additional side crosswalk located on the east side. I must mention, too, that obviously we all know that Omaha Street is DOT right-of-way. So we are working with DOT right now on any safe pedestrian access or pedestrian improvements around Omaha Street to make this the most safest crossing that we can for pedestrians from the downtown area into Memorial Park. Once we get into Memorial Park, we're looking at providing a really nice plaza space, maybe some entry signs, seating benches, really nice landscaping right there, providing a really strong entry area that's visually a visual cue from when you're downtown looking north toward the Civic Center area. You really have this strong visual cue of there is something there in Memorial Park, really pulling your vision and your urge to walk down and walk to the Civic Center area. Once we get into the promenade, the promenade itself is 40 feet wide, very substantial piece of land that we're looking at. We will have 12-foot wide walkways, two 12-foot wide walkways with a 16-foot boulevard, landscape boulevard in the center, dividing the two walkways. As we work further north there, we've developed and worked with Jerry Cole and the Parks Department at potentially a location for a botanical garden sometime in the future that could play really nicely with some of the horticulture aspects that we have around Rapid Creek. Also providing some sort of major monument feature on the corner of 5th Street and Omaha that you would see kind of up in the upper right-hand corner there as well. We would be maintaining the existing 6th Street Bridge and only adding topical solutions to it to make it a more pedestrian plaza, basically keeping the bridge not only as a pedestrian connection, but more as a plaza where someplace where people want to sit and gather by the creek, maybe potentially having a Wi-Fi spot there or someplace to take your coffee to and sit down and do some work on the bridge. As you get north of the bridge there, we'll continue the promenade up to the Civic Center area where we'll be adding a new pedestrian plaza and then a canopy that would wrap around the Civic Center. Also on the Civic Center wall, we would be looking at working with the Civic Center board to provide some sort of visual cue once again of you're at the Civic Center, providing a really strong focal point as you all will be. So as you're walking north toward the Civic Center, you have this focal feature as you cross the bridge to the Civic Center feature itself. Just some really quick cross sections. The top cross section here is that, once again, the promenade feature that we're looking at, 12-foot wide, two 12-foot wide concrete sidewalks, decorative concrete we're looking at, which would be a stained color, and then a 16-foot wide landscape boulevard. The landscape boulevard itself will have low landscape material So it's very comfortable to the eye to be able to see across in the activity. And then the promenade will also be lined with shade trees up and down as well. About 100 shade trees would be installed on this project. As we're getting into some of the more details of it, the crossing on Omaha Street we have here on the left-hand side of the screen, once again, adding 2 crossings on 6th Street to a center median island, focusing everybody to have 1 crossing then into the promenade into Memorial Park. And then the other feature on your right-hand side, the entry plaza into Memorial Park, maybe having a park inlay into the concrete, really nice decorative landscape that has seasonal appeal throughout. Quick schematic view of basically looking at the city building north into the promenade feature. And then once again, the bridge, as I mentioned, will be utilizing the existing bridge structure, adding only topical solutions to it, maybe some planting urns, table and chairs, stuff that people have the ability to create it as its own individual space, a plaza area per se. Once again, once we get to the Civic Center then, we'd be looking at new pedestrian plaza with a entry canopy wrapping around that plaza area, really creating a focal feature for people as they're walking north toward the Civic Center here. You'll see 2 tower features that are located there. We'd be trying to mimic some sort of tower feature similar to what we have at the Main Street Square with what we would have at the Civic Center, really providing 2 kind of bookends or anchor pieces, the Main Street Square and the downtown area to the Civic Center here. On the wall in this schematic, you can see the playbills that we've added. That was just a quick solution basically, but as I mentioned before, we'll be working with the Civic Center board on the aesthetics of what that wall will actually be. And then once again, the canopy feature starting on this side, wrapping all the way around to the new ice arena entrance that's on the east side of the arena. We did work with Jerry Cole once again on the botanical gardens aspect of this. This could be a future phase for the promenade feature. And then obviously safety, and a main goal of this is providing that pedestrian access after in the evening time. Once programs are completed at the Civic Center, people have the ability to come back downtown to their cars where they may be parked or go to an establishment before or after the event as well, and feel that they have feel safe and they feel comfortable walking north to south along the promenade feature. We have taken into consideration light pollution on this situation. All the lighting would be very well lit down lighting, and nothing would be coming up into the sky. Quick lighting schematic for the Civic Center area. And then once again, quick lighting schematic for the bridge as we're looking north toward downtown. Kind of the next steps of what we're looking at. We met with several city boards right now, and from Wyss Associates, landscape architecture firm standpoint, we received our topographic survey of Memorial Park actually today. So we are ready to get on board and start developing plans, biddable document plans for Destination Rapid City to put out for bid later this summer to get a contractor on board where we could potentially break down after Labor Day or so. So going back to the plan, right now I'd just like to thank you and open it up for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. And we'll save the questions until we get to that item.
Okay.
We'll now go to Patty Martinson to talk about item 39.
Thank you. My name is Patty Martinson. I want to speak about item 39, which is the discussion on the Rapid City Veterans Memorial and possible courses of action. I want to encourage the council to continue discussion on this issue, particularly with local veterans organizations, and I'd be more than happy to participate in such discussions myself, not only as a private citizen, but also as a member of the Disabled American Veterans Auxiliary. And I have already informed that organization about the discussion on the Veterans Memorial. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. We do not have any further speaker request forms. Can we have a motion to close public comment for items 4 through 71A? We have a motion by Roberts and a second by Doyle. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And we do need to remove item 38 for separate consideration. Are there any other items 4 through 71A that council members would like to remove? We'll go to Richie. Richie?
Thank you, Mayor. And number 34, please.
Okay, so far we have 34 and 38. Any additional items? Ron Sasso?
36, please.
Charity?
It's not a particular item I want to pull. I just have a question relative to 4 of them, the alcohol licenses.
Okay.
Malt
Why don't we
beverage
go ahead and
license.
just pull those for
You want to do that?
consideration?
Okay,
Yeah,
then it would
absolutely.
be 10 through 13, please.
And 10 through 13, okay? Jerry? 39? Any additional items? Okay, can we have a motion to approve items 4 through 71A per the agenda with the exceptions of 10 through 13, 34, 36, 38, and 39?
So moved.
Motion by Davis, second by Sasso. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 10 through 13. Charity?
Would you like me to read them in or just ask my question? Okay. The question is, I see that we have 2 establishments that have failed compliance checks with subsequent passes. I guess my question would be directed towards police chief, and it is this. At what point do you recommend not approving these when there's a history of failed compliance checks? Is there like a 3 strikes you're out rule, or is that something that the full history is going to be on the reports that we see, or is it just the last until they pass?
We'll go to Steve Allender, our police chief.
Thank you, Mayor. It's not really a 3 strikes and you're out scenario. We touch base with the Department of Revenue on what they're willing to do to back up any potential denial. We certainly look for a pattern over a period of time and make a judgment call on whether or not it's worthy to continue on or not. But as far as these specific businesses, I can't speak to their total history tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion or a motion? Do we
approve 10 through 13?
Okay. Do we have a second? We have a motion by Davis and a second by Peterson to approve 10 through 13. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 34, Gary Brown, can you read this into the record for us?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Number 34 is to acknowledge the second floor review committee report. I move to acknowledge.
Motion by Brown, second by Roberts to acknowledge. Go to Richie Nordstrom. Richie?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank the second floor committee review team that got together on that. As everybody can see, the list there of people that were recognized that really need to be applauded for all the work they have done, have completed so far, and we still got some more work to do on that. That is essentially what I wanted to try to do, Mayor, is to recognize the group and let people know that we've got more work to do. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Richie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 36. Gary?
Yes, Mayor. To acknowledge the report, the Memorial Park Promenade presentation by Dan Sefner and Mark Jobman. I move to acknowledge.
Second.
Motion by Brown, second by Roberts. Any discussion? We'll go to Ron Sasso. Ron?
Just wanted to acknowledge the hard work that they put into this project already, and it's exciting to see where things are going, and I'm very optimistic. I think this would be a great addition, so hopefully we'll be moving ahead in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Ron. We'll go to Steve Laurenti. Steve?
I just wanted to ask the question of the gentleman from Weiss, if it's possible.
Mark Jobman, Wiss Associates.
Thank you. And I'm a very big supporter of this, but I have some questions specifically to the last slide. I don't know if we can bring that back up.
Sure, absolutely. Sorry, you can give me a few seconds here.
Thank you.
No
I appreciate
problem.
that. And I'm talking about the areas, and I appreciate the comments about the previous comments with the speaker about Omaha Street, but my concerns are about traffic on 6th Street that will be taking a right turn with these walkways. And then my other concern is I don't want the exact word would be, but maybe the holding capacity of the left turn lane that will be turning left on 5th Street, because that left turning lane looks like it runs right back towards that the eastern crossing. So I'm wondering if that's part of the discussion with the DOT, if that's one of the sticking points, because it would seem to me that we would have a safety issue there. So
those are the exact questions that were posed to DOT. Those are exact concerns that DOT has about some of the enhancements to this crossing. As we mentioned, Dan and myself have met, and our civil engineer, which is FMG on this project, have met with DOT a week and a half ago. They were going to look at some traffic counts to those turning locations, and we have a meeting with them next Friday morning to discuss the specifics about what they will be able to work with us on for those enhancements. So I can't answer the question today, but we will know more later.
It's just that crossing, if we're going to make that investment, I'm a little concerned that we're real close to that left turn lane that's going to lead to 6th Street there, or 5th Street, I should say. And I don't know what how many vehicles or the holding capacity of that left turn lane is, but for us to put the money into developing both of those crosswalks, and then I don't know what DOT is going to be. I doubt they're going to be able to move 5th Street further east on Omaha Street, but that would be one of my main
the crossing
concerns.
on the east side of 6th Street, the north one on the picture here, actually doesn't impede onto the turn lane on Omaha Street yet. The location that we've designed does not impede onto that. So our hope is to work with DOT and make sure that happens.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
We'll go to Jordan Mason. Jordan?
Thank you, Mayor. Love the idea, looks great, but I'd like to ask a simple question of, with the long-term maintenance and operations cost, where's that money going to come from? And I mean, maybe I missed
Dan
that.
Seffner talk a little bit about the monetary aspects.
That was an issue that I did want to make clear. Destination Rapid City has raised the funding to build the Memorial Park Promenade. We will be asking, or we would be asking, Parks and Recs to maintain it as they maintain the parks in the city as it stands now. I believe as we move forward and as we have more people maybe spending another day, spending another night in Rapid City, South Dakota, having a little more to see and a little more to do, more activity, wayfinding system to bring people from downtown to the Civic Center, to the Journey, to the Dolph Fine Arts Center, that we end up with a more captive audience. So I believe, Alderman Mason, that the cost of maintaining that promenade will definitely be minimal in comparison to what we can see for additional revenues of people coming and enjoying downtown Rapid City and our area.
Appreciate that, and that may be, I'm just curious, what is that cost?
Mr. Cole, is he still here? There's Jerry, thank you. Jerry has looked into this somewhat.
Thank you. Thank you, City Council, Mayor. Right now, there's a concept out there, and we have what we call a resource management plan that we develop through all of our parks to find out what are costs associated with them. It's very hard to get an accurate number right now just with a concept plan. Right now, we're looking at probably $25,000 to $35,000, and we'll refine those costs, and that's per year. So, spread that out over 12 months, because there's snow costs in the wintertime, there's trash costs, there's keeping the flowers, replacing the flowers, keeping the weeds pulled, all that cost goes into that. So once the final architectural drawings are done, we will take those drawings and complete the resource management plan, and we'll have a fairly accurate number based on what we do now in our other parks. So,
Thank you, appreciate that. So even highballing it, 40,000 is pretty reasonable. Well, that's great. Again, really love the idea, and just wanted to kind of know what the figures were for the long term. Thanks.
Thank you, Jordan. And we'll go to John Roberts. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jerry, can I get you to step up one more minute, please? Does that include the lighting costs on this? your figures that you're looking at?
It doesn't include the electrical costs for the lights. It does include the maintenance of those lights.
Okay. One question for Dan, since I'm on the lighting subject.
Right.
Could you take a good look at solar lighting for this?
We are looking at all of that, with the Light the Night. This is a great connection with what we have going on right now with the Light the Night and the path and
Exactly.
everything coming together. One thing I guarantee you that we will do is everything will be high efficiency lighting. It will be low cost, low voltage, high efficiency lighting. So cost will be minimal. We're very aware of that type of expenses, what we have and what we're doing. So we are looking into all of those options as to what is going to be the most efficient. The one thing we want to be sure of is that we have enough.
Exactly.
Enough lighting. There needs to be enough lighting so when you're walking the promenade and it's 9 o'clock at night or it's 7:30 in the winter or it's 6 o'clock or it's 11 o'clock, that you know what, you're going like, hey, that's okay to be here. I feel comfortable being here. So I think a major concern that we're really looking at is all of these things and staying as green and as efficient as possible, but also going like, you know what, we need to light this so it's comfortable and feels good for our community and our visitors.
Thank you very much, Dan. And I support this very much.
Thanks.
So one thing I do want to get is the best bang for the buck for the taxpayer.
We all do.
Thank you, Dan.
And we'll go to Dave Davis. Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, my compliments and thank you to Destination Rapid City for bringing this forward and bringing WIS on board and putting such a fabulous plan. The architectural drawings are great. They bring some interesting commentary, though, that I think I'd be remiss if I didn't bring forward looking at this great drawing that we have on the screen in front of us. And that is that I'm exceptionally pleased to hear that Friends of the Park are on board. There have been times in the past that tents during Hills Alive or the 4th of July celebration have caused some grief, or the Rushmore Plaza Civic Center marquee sign has caused some grief because it may have been an impediment to a future flood. Obviously, we found a way to create the promenade, to plant trees that could in fact also create a dam, but obviously we found a way that they're not. So obviously what I'm reading between the lines there is that we are finding ways to open our minds and our arms to projects that are really good for the people, and I compliment Friends of the Park for doing that, and hopefully some of those other obstacles that they've faced will be a little bit more palatable for them, because this is a great project, and thank you, Dan.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is to acknowledge. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 38, Gary.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 38 is to approve the appointment of City Council member, it will be Jerry Wright, to be a liaison to the Standing Committee on Sustainability, and I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Brown and a second by Peterson. Any discussion?
You drafted, you don't have a choice.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 39, Gary.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 39 is acknowledge report, discussion on Rapid City Veterans Memorial and possible course of action. I move to acknowledge the report.
Second.
Motion to acknowledge and a second by Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Oh. Mayor?
Your light not working?
He was punching
We
in
went too
there.
fast.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just to acknowledge what Patty said, and to assure the community, this came about initially last year when we received some inquiries as to where does Rapid City have, or does Rapid City have, a Veterans Memorial. And the fact is we have two. And in looking at it with Richie Nordstrom, another veteran, we visited the one at Halley Park. We visited the one over here by the Berlin Wall. And I believe that the initial action and intent was to get the one at the over at Memorial Park updated to include a plaque or memorial for the global war on terrorism, which we'd like to pursue with. And also the memorial that's in Halley Park, was established, I believe, right after World War II. And it is in an isolated area, and just for discussion is the possibility of moving that. To let Patty and everybody know we appreciate the support from the other organizations, but I, being a member and soon to be commander of VFW, we will actively work with all veterans organizations to include their comments and input, but basically we'd like to get the Global War on Terrorism plaque on the current memorial sometime this year if possible, and work for future embellishment of the memorial system for our veterans in the city of Rapid City. The intent is to raise the funds privately, and there'd be no cost to the city of Rapid City. With that, I'll answer any questions, and it's strictly for information, and I thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. We'll now move on to the non-consent items, items 72 through 111. Can we have a motion to open public comment? Motion by Roberts, second by Wright. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We'll first go to item 91 and 92. Scott Ashley was not able to be here tonight and asked one of his council representatives to read comments on his behalf, and that can either be done here or when we get to that item. So we'll go to Charity.
Would you like me to go here, or can I read it in from here?
Do it from there.
Okay. Dear Councilperson Doyle and Councilperson Brown, we, the undersigned, are all residents and or owners of residential property in the Gemstone Edition of Rapid City. Our properties are on Sandra Lane, Sapphire Lane, and Topaz Lane. We are writing to you to voice our opposition to the proposed zoning change for the property north of East Stoomer Road, east of 5th Street, from the office commercial to general commercial. The original zoning of this area shows forward thinking and good planning for development of the area. The current zoning created an acceptable buffer zone between commercial and residential properties. If the request to change the office commercial parcels to general commercial is approved, it will effectively destroy the harmony of the area by allowing commercial property to encroach on the existing residential neighborhood. We all purchased our homes believing there would be adequate separation between our neighborhood and any commercial development. We are asking for your support and the support of the entire council to ensure that this zoning is not approved. Please help us keep our neighborhood as it was originally planned, and there are 26 signatures. Thank you.
Thank you, Charity. Now we'll go to item 94 and Doug Jones on behalf of.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members and chief. I live at 3621 Jefferson Street, and I live on the corner with Fremont, which is located off Canyon Lake Drive. And now that we've lived in this area for a year now, we think that this is the new normal. So we have become accustomed to having all kinds of debris, from signage in yards to just everything. You've been through there, I am sure. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight is not, I know that the project has had problems. However, we are now looking at another detour. And once this project started, if you looked at a map, Fremont is the shortcut that takes people over to Park Drive. And what happens is that people literally fly down that road to just cut across town. It's a little shorter. And there has been really no assistance from the city, and I don't really look for the police department to provide assistance, but I think that when you look at projects that impact traffic flow in neighborhoods, something should be considered as far as speed bumps, or just at least taking into account the residents who live there and what the traffic counts will do once that project kicks in. So all I ask is if there is a detour planned, once again, and this could be for any project in the future, that you do look at what's going to happen to the traffic counts in these neighborhoods. I can tell you that when I am out of my yard on a Saturday afternoon, I can hear neighbors all the way down yelling at cars that are going quite fast, and you can hear them continually yelling as the drivers go through the neighborhood. And on a regular basis, these drivers will stop and challenge the homeowner for accusing them of speeding, as if it's not our right to ask people to obey the law. So that is why I wanted to talk to you and consider the traffic counts, and along with that, the speed that people want to get to where they're going when you consider detours. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And we'll go to Pat Mexican on item 94. Pat?
When you take into consideration whether you're going to allow the detour or not, I have a few comments to make. As a new business owner, I own the Dewdrop Laundromat. I would like to see the company held to the promises of a two-way availability as the contract originally stated, for a couple reasons. One, for me, it's been very hard. People who come to my laundromat, they go in, they run, they have errands to run, they throw their laundry in, they take off, they want to go down to Family Thrift, pick up their kids, drop them off at the baseball field. They don't want to have to go all the way down to Jackson or come back, go down 38th, all the way down to Evergreen, come back, then come back again, you know, just to take care of business. The other thing is, I drove the route, the proposed detour, several times since it was mentioned in the past couple of days. I have a concern as a parent also. When you go down there, there are kids walking to the baseball fields. I had 2 kids skateboard out in front of me. I had kids riding bicycles in the street. And what maybe you don't realize is the traffic is, now that it's open from Jackson Boulevard onto Canyon Lake Drive, it's considerable. And at night, when I'm working there late at night, there's a lot of kids racing down those streets. And I don't think the residents want those people detoured down, racing down the resident streets. Also, when you come up Evergreen, you're facing, I think it's Canyon Lake United Methodist driveway. You can't see the businesses you just bypassed, Dairy Queen, Shampooch, all of us that are down there. People are just going to go right around us. The tourists that are coming that go to Canyon Lake, I can't think of what they call them now, down by the Chop House, the bed and breakfast, all the tourists that I lost last year, they were detoured and ended up going in circles because the signage was so bad with that construction company. I mean, they come out and go back and circle right back around again, back down into that neighborhood. And I don't think the residents appreciate that. And I know people don't appreciate that when they're trying to find whatever business they're looking for in Canyon Lake Drive. I did talk with the construction company owner today. I went down and talked to the project manager. Right there at 38th, they're whatever the dates they gave you on the minutes that were online that I looked up, they're nowhere near that. They're still got to sink these huge cement pipes yet, right there at 38th where the proposed detour will be, which pushes the project out quite a bit farther than they say. And, you know, summer is, for me and a lot of people on that strip, it's a busier time than it is in the winter, and we'd hate to lose all the tourists in the business. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. So,
thank you, Pat. Do we have a motion to close public comment on 72 through 111? We have a motion by Roberts and a second by Laurenti. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 72, Jordan.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 72 is first reading ordinance number 5837, an ordinance to change the process for immobilization of vehicles for outstanding parking violations by amending section 10.44.150 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Davis. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 73, Jordan.
Item 73 is first reading ordinance number 5840, a supplemental appropriation number 3 for 2012, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 74, Jordan.
74, first reading ordinance number 5838, an ordinance to reestablish water service line inspection and new account fees by adding section 13.08.425 to the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 75, Jordan.
Item 75, first reading ordinance number 5839, an ordinance authorizing water bill rebates for the purchase and installation of certain water-conserving appliances and fixtures by adding section 13.08.495 to the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mason, second by Doyle. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 76.
Item 76 is first reading. Ordinance number 5827, an ordinance to establish a Code Enforcement Board of Appeals by adding Chapter 8.01 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 77.
77 is first reading. Ordinance number 5828, an ordinance to reduce certain abatement notice timeframes by amending Section 8.16.035 to the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Doyle. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 78.
78 is first reading. Ordinance number 5829, an ordinance to provide for appeal from certain code enforcement determinations by amending Section 8.16.050 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 79.
79 is first reading. Ordinance number 5831, an ordinance to reduce certain abatement notice, time frames by amending Section 8.28.030 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 80.
80 is first reading. Ordinance number 5832, an ordinance to provide for appeal from certain code enforcement determinations by amending Section 10.56.060 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 81.
81 is first reading. Ordinance number 5833, an ordinance to amend the definition of junk motor vehicles to include vehicles with broken glass by amending Section 10.56.010 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 82.
82 is first reading. Ordinance number 5835, an ordinance to provide for appeal from certain code enforcement determinations by amending Section 10.56.065 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Item 83 is second reading. Ordinance number 5818, an ordinance enacting the 2009 International Building Code by repealing Chapter 15.12 of the Rapid City Municipal Code in its entirety and adopting a new Chapter 15.12 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
We have a motion by Mason and a second by Roberts. Any discussion? Wade Nyberg.
I'd just like to point out there's an amended version of the building code on 83 and the residential code on 84. The building code had just two changes. They're kind of hard to find in there. They're pretty long. They're 35 pages or so. But in the building code, there were two sections that were asked to be changed by the fire department. They're just going back to what the building code recommends as opposed to our local amendment. One is the height of a high-rise building, and the other is related to sprinkler systems in high-rises. So it's just a change of one from 51 feet to 75 feet and the other 51 feet to 60 feet, so pretty minor. I just wanted you to note that it was the amended version that you were hopefully going to pass.
Wade, I have a question just to make sure we're all on the same page. Brett and the planning department had sent out a lot of information to the development community and engineering community, letting them know what was changing. Were these changes made just?
These were originally some of the local amendments contained a change on the height of a high-rise. They sort of limited it more than what the building code generally would say. I think originally it was based on the fire department's equipment at the time, and so now it's actually changing back to what it's a minor change. It goes from 51 feet to 75 feet for height over what the ladder will reach. So
these amendments expand rather than contract.
Right.
So this isn't more regulation, it's less.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. We'll go to Ron Sasso.
I was just looking at making a comment on item 84, which I don't know, as we're still on 83 but touching on 84. Should I hold off on that?
Please.
Okay.
Any further discussion on 83? The motion is for approval of the newer version noted. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 84, Jordan.
84, second reading ordinance number 5819, an ordinance adopting 2009 International Residential Code by repealing Chapter 15.13 of the Rapid City Code in its entirety and adopting a new Chapter 15.13 of the Rapid City Code. And I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Sasso. Any discussion? Ron, did you want to speak on 84?
Yes, just pleased that one of the big changes on that is also on the roofing permits.
Yep, that was the change that was made. Public Works Committee, I believe, it asked for that, and so Brad and I worked on just a little amendment to the building permit expiration section. It's R105.5. It's on page 4 if you have it in front of you.
.080.
Right. Roofing permits expire after 30 days, where a regular building permit would be 180 days.
One of the things that's important with this is in dealing with, I think, a lot of the fly-by-night roofers, with this change, the previous code indicated about 180 days where a person would apply for a permit or a business could, and inspection could be 6 months later. So with this, we're turning that over within 30 days. It doesn't change the existing permit process as far as what were already issued. I know I had talked to Brad Salon on that, but moving forward, this fixes a problem, and I know the mayor had also supported this and had been wanting to see this change as well, so it's a good one. Thank you.
And Wade, just to clarify, it's a no-cost time extension of a 30-day extension for a building permit.
It just changes. All building permits were 180 days until they expired. You had to either get an inspection or ask for a renewal of some sort by that 180-day time. This just shortens that window for roofing permits to 30 days. I think it brings it to the attention of the building inspection division faster, so that if somebody gets a roofing permit and 30 days goes by, they haven't got an inspection, they can find out if there's a problem or kind of deal with that sooner than waiting 6 months after the roofing season is kind of gone.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 85.
85, second reading ordinance number 5820, an ordinance adopting the 2009 International Property Maintenance Code by repealing Chapter 15.14 of the Rapid City Code in its entirety and adopting a new Chapter 15.14 of the Rapid City Code. And I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 86, Jordan.
86, second reading ordinance number 5821, an ordinance adopting the 2009 International Existing Building Code by repealing Chapter 15.15 of the Rapid City Code in its entirety and adopting a new Chapter 15.15 of the Rapid City Code, and I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mason, second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 87, Jordan.
87 is second reading ordinance number 5822, an ordinance adopting the 2011 National Electric Code with amendments by repealing Chapters 15.16 and 5.28 of the Rapid City Code in their entirety and adopting a new Chapter 15.16 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, and I move to approve.
We have a motion by Mason and a second by Davis. And just to clarify before we go to the vote, Brett, this is the 2011 code, and the rest was 2009.
This is the electrical code.
Yep. Okay. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 88, Jordan.
88 is second reading ordinance number 5823, an ordinance repealing Chapter 15.26 of the Rapid City Code in its entirety and adopting a new Chapter 15.26 of the Rapid City Code entitled Mechanical Code, and I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mason, second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 89, Jordan.
89, second reading ordinance number 5824, an ordinance enacting the 2009 International Fuel Gas Code by repealing Chapter 15.22 of the Rapid City Code in its entirety and adopting a new Chapter 15.22 of the Rapid City Code, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 90.
Item 90 is second reading ordinance number 5825, an ordinance allowing businesses in the central business district to sell products on the sidewalk immediately adjacent to their businesses during special events by amending section 12.12.020 of the Rapid City Code, and I move to approve.
Second.
By Dave. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Unless there's any fierce objection, we're going to take a 10-minute recess, and we'll reconvene at 8:30. Okay, thank you.
It's your neighborhood. I think it'll sell better.
We're going to reconvene in a moment. People could take their seats. We are now reconvened, and we will start with item number 91. Jordan, can you read this into the record for us?
All right, 91 is first reading ordinance number 5814, and this is rezoning from office commercial district to general commercial district, and this is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of East Homer Road and Shelby Avenue. And I will yield the floor.
Okay, we'll go to Charity Doyle.
I'd
Charity.
like to make a motion to deny and keep the floor if I get a second. Thank you
We
very
have a
much.
motion by Doyle and a second by Sasso to deny. Charity?
My thinking on this, being a civil engineer, is that many people complain about some of the things we've done in Rapid City as far as planning go. We've had this talk with casinos, buffers, et cetera. This is virgin ground down in South Robbinsdale. We have only one opportunity to do this the right way. And interestingly enough, our comprehensive plan does it the right way. So if we allow this rezone, we have just bastardized a good plan, if you will. And I think that is probably the predominant reason why most of us are disinclined to approve this zoning request. I wanted to mention as well that we have 6 residents from that area who, could you stand up or wave? I did read Hi. I did read their letter. Like I said, we have 26 signatures from that area. That this is our neighborhood, and we want to make sure that the integrity of it remains intact. Thank you.
And we'll go to Jerry Wright. Jerry?
I have a little question on this issue, and it's my understanding that the planning staff approved this change. It's my understanding that the planning commission also approved this change. Is that correct?
We'll go to Brett Limbaugh.
Recommended, excuse me.
Brett?
Yeah, planning staff recommended to planning commission approval, and then planning commission in turn has recommended approval too.
And a further question on the long-range plan did show this area as commercial. Is that not correct? The long-range plan did show this as commercial, correct?
Yeah, as when we did our consolidation effort on the comprehensive plan, we consolidated a number of different districts into just a base commercial zone for future land use, and this is commercial on the future land use plan.
Thank you.
Brett, clarification. When you say commercial, that could be office commercial or general commercial.
That's right. The former comprehensive plan used to make a distinction between office and retail commercial. The new comprehensive plan consolidates all those into a single commercial category, so it could also mean office.
Okay. And we'll go to Jerry. You still have the floor. Did you? Okay. Gary Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with my ward mate, Alderwoman Doyle. When this whole plan was laid out in this area, it was designated to be office commercial there, then going into residential, MDR and that. It was not set up to go from general commercial butting right up against MDR or residential. And the stretch is just too much. The Planning Commission recommended it, but it was on the consent calendar. They didn't even vet it. They didn't talk about it. They didn't shake it out. That's what used to be, but we've got a new game in town. So now the council's going to have to be a lot more careful, in my opinion, when we get the recommendations from the Planning Commission, especially when they're 9-0, to find out whether or not they actually have discussed it, if we have a question about any of it. This area was laid out to be office commercial, general commercial out next to Katrin Boulevard, buffered by office commercial, then into residential. So I'll support the motion that's on the floor. Thank you.
We'll go to Dave Davis. Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Charity and Gary have both spoken, I agree that for once we have a master plan that really looks like we took on some ground in advance rather than trying to build a plan to fit something that's already in existence. And the buffering, the way that it was designed, appears to work. Not just on paper, but as the development is coming to fruition, it appears to work. The developer has made some attempts to visit with many of us, and I know that they're looking to do various things as far as what it might take to get something done, including this afternoon some attempts to possibly have this continued. I personally would have a much different feel if I knew what it was that they were bringing forward. If there was an application for a building permit that you folks that live out there knew what the building was, and you knew what you may or may not be opposed to, it would be much easier for you and certainly much easier for us. But as it is, they're asking for a blank check, and I find that very difficult to grant. I think that's asking far too much of you when we've got a plan that is creating the buffer the way it was designed. But I think there's another issue here that we haven't spoken to, and that is if this were to go the way that they're asking for to go to general commercial, it also makes it eligible for the opportunity for casinos to be in your backyard. And we've got some issues there that we've been dealing with for over a year, trying to come up with some type of a casino ordinance, and we've hit many roadblocks with that. Legally, either ourselves or with other cities who have tried and hit other roadblocks. So there's got to come to a point where we're able to create a casino ordinance that is fair to the business person and to the residents, but we're not there right now. And certainly, I think it would be extremely unfair to the neighbors to change something that was designed properly and put you into a position that could, in fact, bring something else, in this case, a casino, into your future, that I just think that would be completely inappropriate for this council to allow. Quite frankly, I also think it would be inappropriate for the developer to do it, because even if they did get it zoned and sold it to someone and then the casino ordinance came through, they may in fact not be able to develop it the way they want. So I just think that leaving it as it was designed in the master plan makes the most sense, and I would encourage my colleagues to vote in that direction tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, and we'll go to Richie Nordstrom. Richie?
There we go. Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of additional points that I make in addition to what Alderman Brown mentioned. Here's the Planning Commission voted on this 9-zip. There's some other issues that came up out of the Planning Commission as a 9-zip also, and so I'm getting concerned about the general direction of what Planning Commission is doing by not vetting some of these issues properly. The other area of concern that I have is the street down there. I'm not sure, 100% sure, that the street will handle the additional traffic if general commercial is allowed on that area. And the other tack that I'm going to approach on this is just purely anecdotally, is that in my way of thinking, if we go with office commercial versus general commercial, we'll probably see some better paying jobs down there, and just simply because of office commercial. I'm thinking of doctors and lawyers and some other type of businesses that have a little bit better paying jobs than we see in the regular general commercial areas, such as the fast foods that are coming into town quite heavily now, and some of the other general commercial businesses that we have low or medium wage jobs, and whereas I see the office commercial can support better paying jobs. So that's just a little bit different approach. Thank you, Mayor. I'll yield the floor.
Thank you, Richie. We'll go to Ron Sasso.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, and I don't want to be echoing too much, but at the same time, here you've got an area where you already have the commercial of Walmart, you've got the office commercial, and you've got, that's your buffer. You're looking at that. Going to general commercial, again, nothing like having a casino in the backyard of a church. Not a good idea. Not a good idea to have more casinos close to the neighborhood. And there again, we don't know what would be going there, but the fact that as residents there, the way it was zoned, to look at changing that would potentially affect your property and your lifestyle. To me, that is the biggest thing. If this was already zoned, existing zoning of commercial, different story. But this is office commercial. And so I will be supporting the denial. Thank you. Yeah.
We'll go to John Roberts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. One thing I wanted to say about this is I want to thank Councilwoman Doyle very much for bringing this to my attention, because when this came across the Planning Commission and I looked at it, the aerial photographs are very deceiving. It looks like there's a big buffer zone in there, which there is not. When you go out and drive the area, and see what the residents have to deal with down there. We don't want anything appropriate backing up to your homes. It has to be zoned, I believe, the way it is and not changed. So I'm going to be supporting this motion. Thank you.
We'll go to Bonnie Peterson.
I've just checked with Brett Limbaugh, and there was an official request today made from the developers for 91 and 92 to continue this for till June 4th. If anyone wants to do that. At this time, I support the denial because I know that if it, there's times where you stand with the people and there's times where you stand with the developers, and it's just trying to find the balance of that. And I do have one question for Mr. Limbaugh, if I may.
Brett.
The dental office that is there in that location next to it, I think it's the dental office in the USDA. I was told today that that was rezoned general commercial. And I've been told that it was office commercial, but then someone told me today it was rezoned general commercial. So I have a concern about that. And I don't know if we can find that out at this time or not.
Yeah, let me look on the map and I'll find it for you. It's just off the map on your
Just
attachment.
off the map.
Yeah.
And then I guess, could I ask the attorney a question? Joel, since they asked for a continuance today, and if we proceed with the denial, they can come back, right, with their new plan. We're just saying that this plan as it is right now is being denied? Or how does that work as far as?
Well, if it was a different plan, I believe they could come back. If it's the exact same plan, I'm not sure that they could. I'm not totally prepared to answer that right now, but at the same time, you're not required, I don't believe, to continue it either. So you could take action on it tonight.
Okay. I guess we could go to someone else, and, well, maybe Brett can answer later. Thank you.
Jordan Mason.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep my comments as short as possible, but I will say I do appreciate Alderman Doyle bringing this forward, because issues like this don't just affect one area of the city. They set precedents for all over the city. And for my ward in particular, this is something that I hope the City Council keeps in mind in going forward, that we do need to think about what the comprehensive master plan of the city is, and more importantly, thinking about grading the impact on residential areas. I will say, as an alderman of Ward 4, I've noticed that unfortunately that is an area of the city that has been impacted because of changes like this. And luckily today and tonight, we are taking the stance tonight, right now, to make sure that those sort of impacts don't continue in the city. And I'd just like to also again commend Charity Doyle for taking the stand and making sure that this doesn't continue. Thank you.
And we'll go to Gary Brown. Gary? Any objections to calling the question? The question has been called. Okay.
It's office commercial.
Okay. Any objections to calling the question? Question has been called. All in favor? If there's no objections to calling the question, we'll proceed directly to the vote. The motion is to deny first reading on item number 91. All in favor of the denial, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion carries with 1 no. The item is denied. Item 92, Jordan.
Thank you, Mayor. This is first reading ordinance number 5815, and this is rezoning from office commercial district to general commercial district located at the northwest corner of the intersection of East Toomer Road and Shelby Avenue, and I move to deny.
Second.
We have a motion by Mason and a second by Roberts to deny. Any discussion? Before we proceed to the vote, Brett, I have a question. The fact that this sailed through the Planning Commission with very little discussion, I mean, it had come up first reading here, and then the council decided to defer it to the Planning Commission. But it causes me to wonder who was notified on this rezoning. Was there notices sent out per the rules within the 250, or is it 500 feet? And
It's 250, and notices sent out.
it sounds to me like most of the people didn't receive, that there wasn't very many people within that 250 foot. Is that fair to state that?
The parcels are fairly large out there, so 250 feet from the perimeter of this property doesn't catch the residences necessarily, so that's usually a problem.
Okay, thank you. Charity.
You bring up a very valid point, Mr. Mayor. I think that I would like to see something change in that where it's 250 feet or the nearest neighborhood, because quite honestly, this would be affecting homes that don't yet exist but will. And that's why we have to remain diligent. To also comment on some of the Planning Commission comments, without naming people, it was interesting to talk to some of the Planning Commission members behind the scenes and see what they thought they were voting on. Anything from, they thought that these two parcels were south of East Stoomer. Someone else thought that it was a rezone from medium density residential to office commercial. So I don't know why that is, if it's busyness, if it's what it is, but one of the things that I saw in other municipalities out in the cities was that the appointees to the Planning Commission were actually interviewed by the planning departments of those cities, as well as other entities, to see what kind of background, what kind of things could they bring to the table so that they knew what they were looking for. It's going to obviously make sure the learning curve is shorter. I don't know if that's something that we can do here, but it's something to consider. And I guess just to go back a little bit and talk about the desire of the developers to continue this, there's really never going to be a good time to rezone this from office commercial to general commercial. It's going to save staff time. I think this vote to deny this is the most efficient thing to do, because if we keep continuing it and coming up with a new plan and a new plan and a new plan, that's staff time. That's, if we just leave it where it is, it's done. It's done. There are acceptable uses that can go in office commercial that are going to be agreeable with adjacent neighborhoods. The reason an office commercial area is zoned that way is because the business hours are restricted. You're not going to have traffic all hours of the day and night. You're not going to have lighting all hours of the day and night. It's something that's going to be, peaceable when you're trying to sleep or whatever the case is. So again, if we just leave it the way it is, office commercial, then our job is done. Staff's job is made a lot easier, and I think it's just the best solution for everything. Thank you.
Gary Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to go back for a second to your comment about the 250 feet notification. I would agree that needs to be looked at again. When I was on Planning Commission, we tried to get that moved up 500 feet, 750, try and spread it out. Tremendous pushback by the developers and contractors in town. Cost us too much money. Going to go out. You know what the postage and that would be? We got beat right back to 250. But I think it needs to be revisited. The problem will be is whether or not the council will have the political courage to stand up to the kind of push that you're going to get. You're going to have to stand your ground. Now, I know I'm a lame duck, easy to say, but you're going to have to stand up to some of that pressure if it's going to be for the better of the citizens. These folks out here, when Charity and I met with them, we asked, did you get a letter? No. If you read the letter they sent to us, the way that they found out what was happening is that one of them happened to see one of the blue signs that was posted out there and want to know, what's this all about? So we're not doing the citizens of Rapid City any great service. I understand there's a cost. But we're here to represent the citizens, not worry about the cost of those items. So at some point, I hope somebody has the courage to bring that back up and see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. We'll go to Jerry Wright. Jerry.
Some people may be wondering why I'm voting the way I am. 4 decades ago, I was on the planning staff, and I have a degree in urban engineering and transportation planning. And I can assure you back then that the planning staff and the planning commission absolutely thoroughly looked at these things and took them very seriously, and their recommendations you could go to the bank with. apparently, from the concerns I'm hearing, that's not happening, and that concerns me a great deal. I'm sitting up here on the dais trusting my decisions upon staff and boards that advise us. If they're letting us down, that is not good. I'm very concerned about that. I think we need to take corrective action. They need to take corrective action if that's what's happening. Thank you.
We'll go to Ron Sasso.
I appreciate the points that have been brought up, and I would like to, I guess, ask if we can put this on the Public Works as far as the distance for the next Public Works meeting to be looking at that. So,
Brett, will we make sure this is on the next Public Works agenda and bring a report at that time?
Yes.
And some suggestions.
thank you.
All right, the motion on the floor is to deny item number 92. We'll go to Jordan Mason. Jordan?
Thank you, Mayor. And again, I'll keep this really short. I would say that I appreciate the comments of my colleagues on some of the issues with having the recommendations of committees. I guess I would just throw out the quote from a notable U.S. President, Ronald Reagan, that said, "Trust but verify." I think it was a good quote. The other comment that I just would throw out for consideration is there are other places in this, small rural communities that have offered cost-effective ways for developers to notify, and one in particular that I like is the ability to offer the option of a form to verify that they have personally spoken with and notified, given out a personally, written up signature of what's happening so that the developer himself can look the person in the eye and tell them exactly what they intend. It's a cost-effective way to do it, and if they're willing to put in the legwork, it's a cheaper way of going about it, and it also allows for direct communication. So I guess I would throw that out as a possibility in moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. We will have further discussion on the notification process of the next Public Works meeting. Jerry, any further discussion?
I want to take a little closer to the Ronnie Reagan woodshed then. I think that it's high time the council maybe has coffee with the Planning Commission and discuss these issues, and let's have a come to Jesus meeting about what we need to do to get this right, because I am very concerned about it. And it's just not right that we can't rely on our staff or our commission or whoever we're relying upon. That's not good. And I'm just reiterating it. We just, I think a few years ago we went away from a statutory planning commission, and that's too bad. We need to get back to where it needs to be, and things have to be peer planning, and I think we need to know the truth. Thank you.
Okay. We'll go to Richie Nordstrom. Richie?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo a couple of comments that another one of the issues that came up in the Planning Commission was not thoroughly vetted, and I'd also like to bring that up at Public Works Committee meeting as well. So I support Jerry's concept of doing this meeting between the council members and the Planning Commission, so I would be supportive of that idea as well. Thank you, Mayor. I'll yield the floor.
Gary Brown. Any objections to calling the questions? If not, we will proceed directly to the vote. The motion on the floor is to deny first reading of Ordinance 5815, which is item 92. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion is denied on a 9-1 vote with Jerry Wright voting no. Item number 93. Jordan.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 93 is approved special event permit for Kirk Funeral Home for free senior moving and free parking on June 20th, 2012, December 7th, December 24th, and 2012 from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I move to approve.
Motion by Mason, second by Roberts to approve. Any discussion? We'll go to Bonnie Peterson.
I was just going to say that that date in June should actually be July. I don't know if it's exactly July 20 or if it's a different date, but just so that we know that that's what we're approving. Thank you.
Can someone clarify that for us?
It's July 20.
It is July 20.
Yes, there was a a memo attached to the linked item that the date approved by the Public Works, or the Legal and Finance Committee was not correct.
Okay, so somebody could clarify, okay, the dates are July 20, December 7, and December 14. And that's the intent of the motion maker? Seconder? Yes. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 94, Gary Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Appeal of staff denial of a request from RCS Construction to allow detour and closure of eastbound traffic on Canyon Lake Drive. And I yield to the floor.
Do we have a motion? We could start off with a motion. Okay, your motion is to grant the detour. Okay, do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a second by Roberts, motion by Wright to grant the detour and closure of eastbound traffic on Canyon Lake Drive. Any discussion? Ron Sasso.
This is a very difficult issue, and I know I've spoken with quite a few different people, and some of the information that I've received, a lot of the businesses that I had heard from indicated just get it done, but there again also have heard tonight, please keep the two-way traffic open. So we have problems there. We've got the other concern I had was regarding residents that are on the detour route, and I did try to go door to door on Evergreen, and only had gotten a few people who basically said, okay, let's get this done sooner. But there again, a resident slightly off there expressing concerns. This situation is one that it's not an easy fix, and I know we're here to make the difficult decisions. All things being equal, it would be much easier if the work had been done. Driving that detour route, the signs still say June 15th for completion, which we know is not the case. And right now, I'm not sure which direction I'm leaning. Thank you.
We'll go to Gary Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. May I ask Mr. Skull a question? I see him sitting in the back there. Hi, good evening. Thank you for coming. I don't know any other way to clear my mind than just directly ask you. Quite frankly, in talking to the people, and you've read enough in the papers and that too, the credibility of your company to get this job done is being seriously questioned. What guarantees, what can you tell me that would change my mind on the way I'm planning on voting? What can you guarantee me that your company is going to do different from what you have been to get this job done within the 3-week time period, I believe you said it could be done? What are you going to do differently that is going to make sure this happens? Are you going to do more overtime? Are you going to work weekends? Are you going to have more manpower, equipment? Give me something to try to support you, Mr. Skull.
We've worked probably on the average 60-plus hours since we started last April. One of my truck drivers said he worked 26 Saturdays in a row. My guys and gals have worked tirelessly to get this job done. It's a very, very difficult job. Most of it people don't see. The majority of this project is underground. In some areas, there's 3 water lines, one of them a 20-inch line that's one of the main transmission lines to the new water treatment plant. There's a sewer line, most of it 12, 14 feet deep, and the 20-inch water line is 12 to 16 feet deep. We have a very large storm sewer system going through there. And in addition to that, there was has been a large amount of public utilities in the way. Was noted on the plans that those things would be moved prior to us starting. None of them were. And It is a very difficult project. We do a lot of the more difficult projects in this region. We have for 20 years. Can I guarantee 3 weeks? Nope. Can we do it? Yep. I've had conversations with some of the other council people regarding that. The only work we're going to do during the detour is the concrete paving of the eastbound lane and the center turn lane. The utility work will all be done under two-way traffic as it is right now. The curb and gutter on the eastbound lane and the 6-foot bike path will be done prior to the detour. The concrete paving from where it is now to 38th Street will be done prior to the detour. The concrete paving on Canyon Lake Drive from Dairy Queen up past Rushmore Street, which is 1 block west or east, will all be completed. That's what I can tell you. Can we do the paving in 3 weeks? Absolutely. We can do the paving in 2 weeks if we have the good weather. That's why we're asking, and we have in our handout, we've said 3 to 4 weeks. I think we can do it faster, but we need a good weather break.
Would that be the only thing that would screw that up for you then? Is
Absolutely.
weather. Well, I tell you, I go to church down there at Canyon Lake Methodist, and every Saturday or Sunday that I go in there, I don't get very religious comments. Bring back to me on what's going on.
I have plenty of friends that go to Canyon Lake Methodist. I was raised there.
Awfully hard comments about you. Again, your company, I don't know which way I'm going to vote yet, Robert, to be quite honest with you, but
The completion date as it stands right now originally was June 16th. We've received a few days extra. We received absolutely no time extensions whatsoever for the weather we experienced in April, May, June, and July of last year. We had more rain last year by the middle of July than we typically have all year. Now, a lot of people seem to forget the flooding that went on in this state, in the central part of this state. And we had the same rain here. We had over 8 inches of rain in July. And it's been a battle. There's no doubt about it. Some areas, some portions of that street, we have redone 4 times because it kept raining. We tear the base course, the subgrade out, dry it out, put it back in. Before we get it paved, it'd rain again. It's been a struggle, no doubt about it. But we haven't given up. And honestly, I feel I have some of the best employees of any construction company in Rapid City. I'm proud of my guys. They work hard. They really do. And we're not going to stop. We've never given up, and we're not going to.
just one last comment. Being the devil's advocate, I don't know how much better a winner you could have asked for to pick up, make up time, and get the job done.
And we have.
I'll yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am leaning right now towards the detour. That's why I seconded it. The reason being is I work with a gentleman that has lived on the detour route for quite a few years now, and talking to him, and he had talked to some of his neighbors, and the consensus of the people in that group was, let's get it done. We're sick of it. Let's get it done. And I think it is time we get this done, and we do what we can do to help get it done. So that's the reason I'm supporting this tonight, the detour. Thank you.
Jerry Wright.
Thank you, John. That's my feelings exactly. I think we need to give the contractor the option, the ability to get this done as physically fast as possible to minimize the impact upon the businesses and anyone in the area. And I think this is a tool to hand to him to get it done. If we don't do it, we are going to be under the original schedule. We're taking an option away that I firmly believe will take, what, a week or two longer. And that's not in the interest of those businesses or the residents out there, nor the city, and for that matter, the company. So I support the issue in the fact that it will get it done quicker and minimize the inconvenience and the pain that's been going on. And Robert's right, this is an extremely, extremely complex project. That's why I support this, and I hope that my colleagues will vote for it so we can get this thing done. Thank you.
Thank you. When I was visiting with people about this, the majority of the people said they wanted to get the project done. And of course, there are other people experiencing hardships and would like for the two-way to be open all the time. One thing that I did hear when I was walking is that people would like maps of the detours so they could give their clients and all. Is that something that you could provide to the businesses?
Absolutely.
So that they could, help kind of instruct their people ahead of time, and to also so they know, like, should you know a week or two before you're going to?
I'm going to interrupt for a moment. Terry Waltersdorf, could you put the map of the detour up for us? It's linked to the item for the benefit of the council and the audience.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bonnie.
And the other concern was marking entrances. I know you have signage out there. I just don't know if there's something else that could be done to help people, because, if you pass up the driveway, then you're going to have to come and do a whole nother loop-de-loop so that, they can have better.
Actually, I talked to Pat from the Dewdrop Laundromat today, and I told her I would personally go with her and put a sign wherever she would like it.
Okay.
And I would do that for anybody. And we've actually added a lot of signs at our own expense during the course of this project.
Now, I did notice that I was pleasantly surprised with the number of signs there. It's just good to get some feedback from where they think the sign should be, and because we all view things differently. And also, I talked to the police chief, and he said, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chief Allender, is that you will be checking out the detour area to try to try to limit the speeding, and to try to make it safe in there, because it is a real tight road. And so I hope that okay, he's saying yes. So I will, because of just the numbers of people that have said, let's get it done, I'm going to vote that way. But it certainly is with reservations. But I hope, Mr. Skull, that they have, and that you go individually to each business and not just rely on somebody to give them to other people, because they need to know.
I will do it personally.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go to Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Skull, normally I like to go along with what staff recommends, but I'm leaning towards supporting the neighbors in that neighborhood, because they, all but a couple of that I know of, have indicated to me that they don't want the detour, but the rest of them are on board, is similar to what the other council members have spoken about. So the other concern that I have, and maybe Terry, you might be able to help me out here, I'm not exactly sure, but the street over on West St. Patrick Street, that's on the southern leg of that detour, it's getting in a pretty tough condition right now. It's pretty sorry shape. So I don't remember what the score is on that street, but I'm just kind of worried about that street getting the additional traffic. And I realize it's only additional one-way traffic, meaning that the whole street is going two ways, but can you address the additional traffic over there?
Well, it's certainly a concern for us, and you're right, the street's not in the best shape right now, but we would definitely do a review of the street ahead of time and then take a look at it again afterwards with the contractor.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Do you know offhand when that is coming up on the CIP list or the reconstruction list?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Fair enough. Bob, I'm going to support the detour, but again, I've got very severe concerns about this, and it'll be stronger than a wet noodle if we don't make it within the 3-week time frame. Thank you. I'll yield the floor.
We'll go to Jordan Mason.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a little more of a practical question. I'm kind of, I'm absolutely on board with trying to get this thing done and over with. But just from a practical point, and I'm sure you have something in place, but if you could describe to me your traffic control plan, because if I'm looking at the timeline correctly, we are hitting summer, and we are going to have some heavy traffic going towards Canyon Lake, and those traffic counts are probably going to increase. And we have 2 points where we're having 90-degree turns. So, if you could just give me a rough outline of how you intend to handle the traffic with this detour.
Well, the detour route itself is right on 38th Street off Canyon Lake Drive. It's down about a block and then turns left on West St. Pat. And there's about a 4-block stretch in there on West St. Pat, and it goes north back on Evergreen. There's a stop sign at West St. Pat going on to Evergreen. And I can't tell you what kind of traffic control there is. Turning left, I think that's basically a dead-end street there. Maybe not, but there's very little traffic down past West St. Pat on 38th Street. So it's a pretty clean route as far as detours do go.
Just out of curiosity, and again, just from a practical standpoint, are you going to be moving this direction, which may allow the usage of Rushmore Street at an earlier time period to free that up as an alternative route? Or, what's your backup plan is kind of what I'm getting at.
Well, Canyon Lake Drive will be paved going west to and actually past Rushmore Street. So that could be another route for the detour, actually.
Okay.
I think when we discussed it with staff, they thought, or we thought together, that the other route was better on Evergreen.
Definitely, I understand that. And I'm just thinking about the timeline. I think we've all tried to go to the family reunions down at the Canyon Lake Park and have seen congested traffic down there, and I'm just thinking about that time of the year. Really appreciate it. I'm just, concerned when we get boots on the ground, how do you practically make this work? And, yeah, it makes sense. If there's a possibility to also free up the Rushmore, that makes sense to me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jordan. We'll go to Dave Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Scull, I appreciate the tenacity that you've had on this project. Only analogy I can think of personally is the nightmare that I used to have on a recurring basis of the ambulance run that never ended. And I somehow see that this is one of those projects for you that you wake up every morning and go, can it be over yet? And I'm sure that those folks that live out there are, well, I know for a fact that they're saying the same thing. The biggest concern that I think that we're all facing is that as we've talked to the residents, they all say, get it done now. On the other hand, we have a responsibility to those business people, and I know that you've worked hard with them signage-wise and whatever, but I think that it's very important that, at least on my part as a small business person, that I say what's on my heart, and that is that the day that person loses to a detour, in many cases can't be regained. That revenue from that day won't come back. So every day that you can gain is certainly to their benefit, and yet every day that you lose is gone. So you can understand the consternation that we're facing up here, and you face it on the other side. We understand that as well. Beyond that, I guess the one thing that probably concerns me the most about this is that obviously come June 16th, you're going to be in liquidated damages anyway. So, it's to your benefit to get this project done. We understand that. On the other hand, the detour, having seen what's happened to some of the other streets out there with some of the other detours, one wouldn't have expected them to go to pieces the way that they have without heavy truck traffic, and yet I don't think they got heavy traffic. So it somewhat suggests that maybe the beds weren't as good as we had hoped years ago when they were put down. And that's where some of my concern comes in on the detour route, is the anticipation of what we're going to have to budget for. I know the question has been asked of Public Works, where are these streets in the future plan, and I know that some of these, West St. Pat in particular, is already in tough shape. But it's going to get tougher, I'm afraid. So that really becomes an issue that these aren't yours, other than the fact that every day that it takes you not to be there, it becomes that much more difficult for us to look favorably. So I share that only with you because we want to work with you. It's been a long project for all of us, and we understand on your part as well. We really want to work with you on this. We'd love to give you the detour, but it's been difficult because it has been such a long project, and we've taken a lot of heat as well. So with that being said, I think many of us are going to be forced to make a decision quickly that we still are wavering on. So I'll yield at that point. Thank you.
Ron Sasso.
I'm just glad I got to speak again before Gary called the question. But just a few questions. And by the way, I always appreciate that, though. Timing is always impeccable. But a few questions, Mr. Skull. Mm-hmm. What is, first of all, what is your projected date of completion without the detour?
My project manager, who was here last Wednesday, as you would call, wasn't able to attend. He knows much more about specifics than I do, so I apologize for that. Probably somewhere third week of July. I think we can finish a couple weeks sooner. And it depends, a lot of this depends on how the weather goes, too.
So say July 21st without the detour.
Maybe, yeah. Plus a week, maybe.
Okay. And with the detour, what are we looking at?
Second week of July. Maybe the first week. My partner told me first week this afternoon. I'm not sure if I believe him. Well, we're pushing.
Just those dates are a lot closer then.
Well, we're talking a couple weeks difference.
With the detour and without the detour.
Yeah. By having the detour, what that enables us to do is enables us to pour those two lanes concurrently. And not only does it save us a lot of time because we're not pouring them single one at a time, waiting for cure time, but also gives us a lot better quality. And that's another thing that's important to us.
What's the difference in quality?
Well, when you're just paving a single lane, you're setting up a form and you're pouring off one side, one of a lane that's already been paved, and then you go back and then you do the same thing over on the other side, versus just going straight across. So you've got one continuous plane versus two planes.
Okay. I'm following.
So basically, you got an extra bump is what it boils down to.
Though we shouldn't have any real bumps if we've got our roads are done properly. But so we're looking basically potentially a 2-week difference on the detour. Mm-hmm. One thing I want to say that people that I've spoken to have all indicated that it's not, your guys aren't sitting back or resting on their shovels or that they're working, and I've heard that consistently. Everybody has been working. Your guys are working hard. At the same time, this is affecting businesses, and I keep going back to my own experience of I didn't travel as much when it's one way. This is difficult. Going from 3 to 4 weeks to looking at about a couple week difference. So, thank you.
Charity.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for the laundromat owner, if I may.
Please.
Would you mind coming up here, or to the podium, ma'am? I know it's getting to be a long night.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask you a question. If you don't know the answer, that's absolutely fine, since I'm springing it on you.
Okay.
The question is this: the business lost for you with the detour, and I know this isn't going to, pertain to every business, but I just want to get an idea. The business lost to you, do you believe, with the detour versus without the detour?
I thought about it a lot today after discussion with Mr. Skull here. For me, it would be a considerable loss because of the nature of the business, of the people coming and going. They come in, they drop their stuff off, they start the machines, they go do their errands, they come back, they put them in the dryers, they go back, they're taking care of kids, whatever their errands are. And so, and with the tourists coming off of Jackson Boulevard, a lot of them got lost in the detours last year because they're not familiar with this unusual neighborhood we have back here. A lot of,
Right,
jigs and
yeah.
jags. And so I lost quite a bit of business. And I'm looking at, I understand, I'd like to get it done, I understand where he's coming from, and I thought about it a lot, but I don't have the capital to sit on for a couple, those extra weeks. For me, it's really riding the line. And one of the other business owners I talked to, the hairdresser in there, also was feeling the same way.
So you believe the trickling of business with no detour is better than the detour to close everything down and get it done?
Because they're going to go down here and around if they do. I think people will just avoid it once they've tried it a couple times. They'll just go Jackson Boulevard. They're not, most people, including myself, don't want to deal with a lot of construction detours, whether it's east, north, or whatever part of town or this part of town. And for me, as a business owner, and one of the other people that are in the strip mall with me, it would be pretty detrimental. Because we don't have anything. We have a hill behind us. We have no side streets.
Right.
Dairy Queen has at least a side street, and things. And so that's why I chose the option of no detour.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you coming up.
If there's no further discussion, I have a question for Terry Waltersdorf, our Public Works Director. Terry, could you circle for us the corner of 38th and Evergreen? The upper be my lower left-hand corner there. I think it's 38th and Evergreen.
Which one did you want?
It'd be on my left.
What was the intersection you wanted?
38th and Evergreen.
Okay.
The short street. Or is it West St. Pat?
West St. Pat.
Okay, I'm sorry. Right there. So when I rode this the other day, there was a car parked right around the corner there, and I don't recall if was there sidewalks on both sides, or is there sidewalks on one side? There is sidewalks on.
I don't recall on that.
My concern is, in thinking about this and listening to the discussion and listening to Pat Mexican's concerns, is that also how are delivery trucks going to get through this small neighborhood? And if you prohibit delivery trucks, I think it'd be very hard for those trucks to make those narrow corners unless you prohibit off-street parking, and that's going to create a whole other set of issues. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why you, as the Public Works Director, chose to, stand firm with the initial set of plans and to deny the detour. So, if you could please address the issue of the sidewalks and the delivery trucks as best you can.
Well, I'd probably want a little input from Bob on this, but I think we would anticipate that delivery trucks would be westbound. We would not want eastbound delivery trucks, and we would not want them using this alternative route. Now, having said that, will it happen? Yeah. There will be delivery trucks that will ultimately probably use this route. But I think we prefer to sign it for the delivery trucks to use the westbound traffic.
Correct. And I think I mentioned when we were driving that route, Sam, my brother-in-law and sister have lived on that street for 44 years, and I'm almost 100% certain there's sidewalks on both sides.
It sounds like there's sidewalks on one side from what Alderman Sasso and David, we got some folks on Google, north side only.
Yes. Okay. Unless they've been installed.
So would there be signage then on the delivery, on no delivery down that?
We would sign it that way, absolutely. If that was what was desired, absolutely.
Doesn't that further complicate it? And then doesn't that make it harder? I mean, that's an angle that we really haven't considered, is if we say no to the delivery trucks and the businesses maybe didn't know that when they agreed, when some of these businesses said okay with the detour, doesn't that change the game a little bit? And I would like to see that addressed if possible. Terry, do you have any further?
Well, two things. I think the delivery trucks, they can get to the businesses if they know ahead of time that the route needs to come in as westbound traffic. Second thing, real quick, if I could let you know, a couple reasons that from an engineering and public works standpoint, we didn't want to approve this internally. One was the concern on the traffic on the residential streets. The other was that, to be honest with you, since January when we opened it up to two-way traffic, we've been very consistent with the property owners in telling them that they were going to have two-way traffic the rest of the way through the project. So we felt that a change of this magnitude warranted this kind of public input on this setting, as opposed to happening, offline between conversations between the engineering staff and the contractor. So we felt that it really needed to happen in more of a public setting. I would agree, though, that if this is approved, it should speed up construction. It should help them to get it done sooner. There's no guarantee to that, obviously.
We'll go to Jordan Mason. Jordan?
Yes, Mayor, just to maybe help clarify this, but if you look very closely, there's only two houses on the south side of West St. Patrick Street that don't have the sidewalk, but they are on both sides. Yep, and I've double-checked to verify, but it is there.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? The motion on the floor is to allow the detour, and there would be, it sounds like there would be signage on the delivery trucks. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Roll call, please.
Wright.
Here, yes.
Lorente. No. Nordstrom. Yes. Mason. Aye. Doyle. Sasso. Yes. Davis. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Said aye.
Okay. Peterson. Yes. Roberts.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Motion carries on a 7-3. Okay. Bids, Pauline.
First item for bids is the 2012 microsurfacing project. We received only one bid on this, but the recommendation from Public Works is to award the bid to Baloo Pavement Solutions, Inc. for a total amount of $226,076.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Roberts, second by Peterson to approve the award of the bid. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 96.
96 is for Maple Avenue Street Reconstruction Project. We received 6 bids on this. Recommendation is to award the total bid to Hills Materials Company in the amount of $714,392.12, and I do believe Mr. Brown will be abstaining.
Yes, I would.
Okay. Motion by Peterson, second by Roberts to approve. Ron Sasso.
Just a question, I guess, as far as some of these bids came in above engineer's estimate, and just for clarification on that.
You know, a lot of our bids earlier this spring came in under estimate, so of course we adjust accordingly, and then comes back and bites us. So it's kind of nature.
Fair
of the beast
enough.
there.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 97.
97 is for the Sterling Street Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. We received 3 bids on this. The recommendation is to award the base bid only to RCS Construction, Inc. in the amount of $201,919.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Wright, second by Laurenti. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 98.
98 is for the street rehabilitation project at City Springs and Meadowwood area. We received 2 bids on this. Recommendation is to award the base bid only to Hills Materials Company in the amount of $422,158.15, and Mr. Brown will be abstaining again.
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Motion by Peterson, second by Roberts. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries with again 1 abstention from Gary Brown. 99.
99 is for the solar bike path lighting for the Light the Night project. We received 3 bids on this, and the recommendation is to award this to Swift Tech, Inc. in the amount of $177,654, which Mr. Sasso is below the engineer's estimate.
Okay. Motion by Roberts, second by Doyle. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. Alcohol beverage license applications 100 through 111. Anything notable on this from either police chief or finance? Okay. Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve 100 through 111? We have a motion by Nordstrom and a second by Roberts. And we'll go to Bonnie Peterson for discussion. Bonnie?
Yes, thank you. Fancy Flowers, they currently sell alcohol on their fair? Okay, well, who knew? Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion? Motion is to approve those items. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. We do not have an item under mayor's items or council items tonight, but I think it's important to mention that we do have a special council meeting scheduled for next Monday, May 14 at 6:30 p.m. There will be 4 items. There will be an item which is a simple set for hearing item on the Presidential Plaza Tax Increment Financing District, and that will be setting that for hearing for May 21. And that's just a simple set for hearing. And then the 3 signed ordinances will be on the agenda. And again, if any council members or anyone else has any specific items or public comments that they would like to make, please send that information to Charlene Mitchell in Finance or to my office, and we will be putting together the agenda this week. Okay. Right, and then also we had initially considered having a special council meeting right in front of the Legal and Finance meeting next week, Wednesday. We will not be having that meeting because we'll be combining the 2 meetings for next Monday night. Okay, so now we will move on to items 112 through 115. If we could have a motion to open public comment, please. Motion by Roberts, second by Peterson. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. I have 1 public comment item, and this is from Tom Martin on item 113. Tom?
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Chief. I'm here representing Calvary Lutheran Church, Methodists, Lutherans, all working together. And I do the high school youth at Calvary Lutheran Church. And every year we go on an impact trip. I've been doing this for 9 years. And one thing that happens on these impact trips, as any of you who have been involved know, they're kind of a mountaintop experience. Lives are changed. It's very, very important. I think they're important. They're also very expensive. And my point being, we take 43 kids with us on a bus, a charter bus, and we go all over the nation, wherever this year's trip would be. This year it's in New Orleans. We're going down and do some service work, and we're also going down there to attend a national youth gathering. It'll cost us about $40,000 to include our youth and 7 adult chaperones. In the past 3 years, Calvary Lutheran Church High School Youth has been very involved with the Summer Nights Kids Games component of Summer Nights. And, we found that they provide fun, they provide community involvement, and they give the kids a lot of face-to-face time with the public. And so I'm down here to kind of speak to that part of Summer Nights tonight as we move into item number 113. Every time we do this, our group is given a donation of $500 to use in any way we'd like, and we always apply that money towards the impact trip that we go on. So we did like 4 of these last year, which the quick math is $2,000 that we were given by the Summer Nights group to participate in the kids games part of the Summer Nights event. And I really feel that those funds are critical to making sure that these kids have an opportunity to go on the trip. When we're at Summer Nights, I really do watch over these kids real closely. They are the crown jewels of the church, and I'm responsible for their well-being. And so I do see, we've been down there about 8 times. We've done about 8 of these different nights over the last 3 years. And I haven't witnessed any alcoholic consumption or what I would say any out-of-bounds behavior happening in that part of Summer Nights. So I've been really happy with that. It's a safe environment, and I've seen very strong police presence in that area, patrolling all the time, and they do a really great job of making sure that it stays stable and safe. And so I would just like to say that I'm looking forward to being able to work again with Summer Nights this year, and hopefully I'll be able to do that. And I would just like you to consider approving item number 113. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do not have any additional speaker request forms on items 112 through 115. It is a public hearing, so the hearing will remain open at this time. So at this time, do we have a motion to continue item 112 until May 21, 2012, or considering the action earlier tonight, we may want to do something different with that. But right now, the recommendation is to...
This is a different piece of property.
It is, okay. We have a motion by Peterson and a second by Davis to continue item 112 until May 21, 2012. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. Can we have a motion to close public comment for 112 through 115? Motion by Brown, second by Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. We're now on consent items 113 and 114, and unless someone would like to remove one of those items for separate consideration, can we have a motion on both to approve?
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Davis, second by Peterson to approve both items 113 and 14. You're certainly welcome to make comments, but your comments would pertain to either item. We'll go to Charity Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that, obviously there are some concerned citizens about open container partying downtown. And here's a different perspective. I firmly believe that the people who are going to be causing problems are going to cause problems somewhere anyway. And I would much rather have them maybe attempt to cause problem where law enforcement is heavy to thwart that issue and keep people safer. Just something different to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Charity. We'll go to Ron Sasso. Ron?
This is something that, again, I feel like beating a dead horse, but it's been brought up just to make sure that you're doing as much as you can to have everything in place, because those concerns have been brought up. I believe that you're being proactive in that area to make sure that everything's in line. I know Chief Allender gave stats that indicate there's not a significant concern. Actually, October, November, December, or I should say September, October, November, Thursday nights are worst nights for drinking. So I will be supporting this, but just please make sure that maintain the quality control there with that. So, thank you.
And we'll go to Jordan Mason.
Thank you, Mayor. I kind of wanted to reiterate my colleague Charity Doyle, and I just really respect her thought process on that, that, you know, it isn't talked about in today's day and age, but there are people that just commit crime, and they're just not exactly socially acceptable, and it's with or without beer, and people do commit crimes with or without beer. And I kind of find it ridiculous that we constantly try and find a scapegoat, such as an institution that's trying to do something good for the community, and we're trying to throw them under the bus for somebody else's individual action. And I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. What we need to talk about in this country and in this city is personal accountability and responsible consumption. You know, you make a choice whether or not you're going to drink excessively or not. And that's your individual choice. And somebody else is not to blame because you made a bad choice. So with that, I'm going to rest, but it's been eating me up since I've been sitting up here, because we just try and blame everybody else for, you know, our own individual actions, and it's ridiculous.
Thank you, Jordan. We'll go to Jerry Wright.
I totally support Thursday night, summer nights. Always have, always will, until something changes my mind. But I think we have a lot of discussion about alcohol abuse, that somehow or other we use this as a venue to bring it about. And I think it's an issue that definitely we need to deal with. And I think it needs to be handled by not only by the city but the state. And I know I've suggested and brought up before this group and others that we need to begin the work of instigating a sales or transaction tax on alcohol consumption and purchases to pay the costs of alcohol abuse. They're phenomenal, and I don't think occurring at Thursday night, summer nights. And I just want to put my commercial in for a crusade that I feel very strongly about. And I would love to see our culture, having been in other parts of the world, in particular Germany and so forth, where how would I say, people drink and have fun and behave responsibly, and for some reason or other, culture has to drink and misbehave stupidly. I wish we could change it, and I don't know. I can't do it. I just wish we could. But I think if we could take some action to fund and pay for the mistakes of others, it would be a step in the right direction. And thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. We'll go to Ron Sasso. Ron?
Thank you. I do want to say I agree with the personal accountability. The other thing to keep in mind, too, is that when somebody starts drinking, what happens, their executive functioning typically starts deteriorating. So that person may actually start off saying, I'm not going to have many drinks, I'm only going to have a couple, and then once they have a couple, that executive functioning suddenly goes out the door, and then, oh, well, what about one more? No, I would never drive like that, but then suddenly you end up with somebody behind the wheel who shouldn't be behind the wheel. So it's something to keep in mind in the grand scheme of things, and particularly as some of us were at a forum about underage and teenage and college drinking, that executive functioning of people under the age of 25, their brains are not fully developed yet. They do not have that executive functioning fully in place, so it takes even less for them to lose that judgment. So just that personal accountability, very important, agree with that, and at the same time, substance abuse issues can get out of hand quickly. So, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of items 113 and 14, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We're now at the end of the consent public hearing calendar. We have item 115. Jordan, can you read this into the record for us?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 115 is second reading ordinance number 5816, and this is rezoning from general commercial district to medium density residential district, and this is located at 809 and 811 Fairview Street. And I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mason, second by Peterson to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 116, bill list. Pauline.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have one addition to the bill list for Stanley Johnson Concrete Contractor in the amount of $5,941.98. That would bring the total bill list to $6,555,486.94.
We have a motion by Brown and a second by Peterson to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Do we have a motion to adjourn? We have a motion by Doyle and a second by Roberts. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries and we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.